Silicon Valley: technology, art, green, and sustainability.
Welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability, SVTAGS.org. Today I have with me two gentlemen from Oregon. Thank you so much for coming down, and I hope you're going to be traveling a lot this week and enjoying.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you. And Jesse and Mark, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, so how do you say the last name?
Frohnmayer.
Frohnmayer. I was going to pronounce it something completely different. German last name?
Yeah, it is a German name.
Okay. And Jess?
Fittipaldi.
Fittipaldi.
Yeah,
Fittipaldi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Italian.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Italian. So you started up a company, and I was just saying, is it a startup if it's been around a while? But tell us a little bit about
when you're still pre-market.
Yeah.
It would be certainly qualify as a startup.
And it's
though
electric.
We have been working on it. I've been working on it now almost 9 years.
And it's an electric vehicle company. We met at the Electric Vehicle Entrepreneurs of Silicon Valley, which is a great program. And you're the marketing person, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Marketing
Business
and sales.
Yep.
But before, in the name of the company?
It's called Arcimoto.
Arcimoto. So not Arcimoto, Arcimoto.
Well, if you're Italians can pronounce it Arcimoto.
Arcimoto, okay. And we got to test drive it. It was fabulous. I love it. I'm going to have to put a down on it, right? But before we go there, tell us about your backgrounds and what you guys did before, what you're doing now. Do we want to start with you?
Sounds good.
Jess?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Before this, I was working for a professional engineering firm, and as life progressed along, I felt the inclination to start working on stuff that mattered. And I met Mark, and he was developing this vehicle, and I felt like this was a real solution to a problem that exists in the world right now, which is facing the carbon emissions problem and how we get around and how to make cities better, a better living situation for everybody. And so I couldn't pass this up as an opportunity to just feel like I was making a difference.
And are you an engineer then?
Yes.
So it was an engineering company that was working on car stuff, or was it working on?
No, it's large institutional project management stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting background from that to, and then you had a completely different background too.
It's a pretty natural transition from making computer games to vehicles on the road. There's a long and storied history of such moves. So I was a computer game developer pretty much for most of my life.
What kind of games?
It ran the spectrum. I started programming when I was 7 years old on the Apple II. Ended up going to work for a subsidiary of a major game maker doing 3D simulations, network multiplayer games. And then in 2001, got rolling with a new startup that I co-founded with a few other guys called Garage Games. And there we did both game engine technology and then also made kind of indie games to prove out the technology that we were developing.
Okay, what's an indie game?
Well, an indie game would be a small group of people on a shoestring putting together
so like an independent film, independent
games,
okay.
Or independent films, independent
I'm not a gamer,
music.
Sorry, I had to ask.
And the particular problem we had that we saw when we started Garage Games was that you think of if guitars cost $500,000, how many independent bands would there be? Not very many. And that was really the problem that games had in the late 90s, early 2000s, is that professional grade game technology cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to license, and it was far out of reach of small independent teams. And that was really what Garage Games was created to help bridge, is to put tools and technology, build community, and then ultimately publishing for startup game makers.
And so that kind of segues into why did you want to start a car company?
Well,
or electric vehicle company?
So Arcimoto is not a car company. We're building a three-wheeled electric motorcycle. But the transition was that we sold Garage Games in 2007. And I think very much like Jesse, I sort of started looking at the world and thinking, how can I do something with my time that's really meaningful, that addresses one or more of the big problems that we face as a culture. And at the same time that I was really looking for next things to get involved in, I was also looking for a personal transportation solution and not finding it. So
So you're looking at electric vehicles
yeah.
and motorcycles and didn't really see anything that kind of fit your needs.
Well, I didn't want a two-wheeled motorcycle that couldn't carry stuff, was unstable, hard for other people to see, and so on. And I didn't want a full-size car, because a big part of the transportation problem that we have today is that our roads are choked with 4,000-pound, very large form vehicles that are being driven by one person at a time to go to work or go to the gym or go get groceries. And so I wanted something that was going to be smaller form, much lighter weight, much more efficient than any car on the road, and as a result also be something that would be affordable, not just for me. I wanted to adopt something that if I adopted it, other people could adopt it too. So it had to be cool and practical and approachable by everybody.
Let's bring up that first slide since we're talking about it. Let's look at it. So these are different. Tell us what this is here.
Yeah, so this is the progression of development, starting in the upper left, moving across prototypes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bottom. And it really is, it speaks to the iterative process that has been Arcimoto. Really building, our approach has been to build electric vehicles and then test them out in the marketplace with potential consumers, test them out on the road, get feedback, and then iterate to the next step. And what you don't see with each of those are obviously all the changes that are happening under the covers. The first step was really just that first kind of dartboard against the wall, lightweight, incredibly fun, three-wheeled vehicle. But it didn't have protection from the elements. It couldn't carry very much stuff. It wasn't very stable at high speed. And so really the process has been just that rinse and repeat and moving from step to step to step to get to a final product. The first half of the development process was adding the capabilities that people wanted. Right.
So why not hybrid?
It's just in terms of going and, there are two reasons really. One is complexity, that developing one powertrain is a challenging enough task. Developing two simultaneous powertrains is a huge engineering leap. And you're always carrying around an extra powertrain. So the notion with this vehicle was to ultimately make something that was very simple.
And how many pounds again is it?
Well, so what we started with on generation 1 was about 800 pounds. What we're going to end up with on the final product is going to be probably just under 1,000 pounds.
Okay.
All the stuff in the middle, I mean, ultimately we got it. The third one we built was 2,400 pounds, and it was like, hey, we way overshot. So yeah, add capabilities and then subtract all the extra stuff.
We're going to bring up the next slide. Again, we met at the Electric Vehicle Entrepreneurs, and we got to test. There was maybe like 20 or 30 of us that got to test drive it. And on your website, and we can bring that down. It was really fun to ride with you in that. And I guess we didn't get the video of that. It didn't compress in time. But
we'll have to go get another one today.
Yeah, there you go. So, but it was really fun. It was almost a little scary going around the corner when we were at like 40 miles and we slowed down and turned because it's really lightweight. So why lightweight again and smaller?
Well, it's really that whole less is more.
Okay.
Electric vehicles are all about power to weight ratio. And so you can either add more power or you can reduce weight. And both of those have a similar effect on that ratio. And so in order to build something that is affordable and incredibly efficient and also very, very fun to drive, the goal is to remove as much weight as possible.
Well, it was really fun.
And you got to ask, how much machine does 200 pounds of dude need to go get a couple gallons of milk and some cereal at the grocery store?
Right. Well, we were just talking about my business club, which I do marketing consulting, and in 2007 I had a cancer research doctor that had developed a drug for stage 4 ovarian cancer, and we met at Starbucks. But it was really uncomfortable for me to meet with him at Starbucks when he was talking about clinical trials of real women. So I was looking for a remote office space, which is like a mile from my house, which is the Capitol Club. So it doesn't make sense to drive a huge vehicle down there when you could take something like this.
And particularly if you're burning gas, the least efficient you can run a gas-powered vehicle is those first few miles where it's warming up and stop and go traffic. which makes up the bulk of the driving that people do on a regular basis. So all of that very much points towards the electric drive as the solution. And then the question just becomes, how do you really maximize the capabilities of the vehicle at the same time that you minimize weight and cost?
Let's bring up another slide. This next one, yeah, so there's two of them side by side. Are they basically the same then?